For most of my life, I thought that I was ugly and unattractive. But after losing 60 pounds in 3 months, I realized that in fact, I just lacked discipline. And if you were born after the 1950s, you were probably sold the idea that freedom means no rules. Growing up, the idea that you can have anything you want, do whatever you want, and be whoever you want was thought to many of us as an anthem of freedom. But what so many of us fail to see is that structure, boundaries, and rules are not limiting, but they are, in fact, the thing that we so desperately need in order to flourish and achieve our true potential. And the idea that you can have your cake and eat it too couldn't be more far away from freedom and success. Let's take a ballerina, for example. We see the end results. We see the graceful movements, the beautiful dancing. But what we don't see is the hundreds of hours of preparation with lots of effort and discipline that it takes to get at that level. And all of that discipline and hard work is what it takes to make that spectacular beauty possible. And it's the same thing for most of the things that we admire. The Victoria's Secret's model that has a great body, some people blame it on genetics, but let's be real. We know that it takes a lot of effort. It takes the discipline of eating an extremely clean diet and also sometimes exercising for many hours a day. Everyone wants to be a billionaire like Warren Buffett and live a luxurious life. But we don't see the decades of hard work, frugality, and effort that took to get where he is. And we often see those people and we want what they have without having the effort and discipline that they had. But thankfully, it seems like more and more people are waking up to the truth and realizing that a world that prioritizes structure, discipline, and order is in fact a better world, both for the individual and for society. And I believe that this is why more and more young people are seeking for traditional religion, and also why movements like the body positivity movement that preached the acceptance of extreme body conditions like obesity is now on decline. And it seems like people are starting to glorify thin and slim bodies again. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this is right because both being overweight and being underweight is not the ideal. But I believe it's very clear that one trend glorifies structure, order, and discipline, and the other one glorifies laziness, self indulgence, and chaos. And in recent years, there has also been a huge increase in a number of women that are preferring to leave the workforce and stay at home to take care of their house, their family, and their children, aka the tradwife movement. And even though all of these movements seem to have nothing in common at first glance, I believe that they are all part of the same big picture. And they reveal a silent but powerful truth that is slowly rising up to the surface. Humanity is tired of lack of order. People are not wanting more freedom to be one of a kind and express who they truly are, but they're craving tradition, structure, rules. Not the man made rules created yesterday by secular media. People are seeking for the unchanging eternal rules that were created long ago by people who valued effort, discipline, and hard work. And this is where I was wrong. Because for most of my life, I thought that I was ugly. But in fact, I wasn't really ugly. I was just overweight and lazy. I wanted to look beautiful without putting any effort into my appearance. And I wanted to be skinny while eating anything I wanted whenever I wanted. I must say that after losing so much weight in such a short period of time, I realized that the best way for you to be successful and achieve any goal is by being disciplined and following rules. Maybe you don't believe in God, Or maybe you're agnostic, but it's hard to deny that the human existence benefits from order, structure, and moral values that ultimately are more spiritual than materialistic in nature. And the rise of many great civilizations is directly linked to the development of rules, structures of power, and the collective effort from their population to abide by the same rules and principles. Personally, I believe that we were created by a God, and that God created the first man, Adam, and put him inside the Garden of Eden. And if we think about this, the Bible says that God created the entire earth, but he chose to put his dearest creation inside of a garden. And from the Bible description, it almost looks like the garden had walls around it, reinforcing the idea that boundaries are in fact good and necessary for flourishment. And not only that, but since the beginning, God gave rules to his entire creation, from plants to humans. And until the whole creation was obeying those rules, everything was peaceful and good. So, when we see the current state of our Western society and of our lives nowadays, it's no wonder that everything seems so chaotic. After decades of rejection of the rules, traditions, customs, and values that got us to this so called evolved state, it's impossible not to see that many people find themselves living without a purpose, working without really feeling dignified, lost despite being right where they wanted to be, and empty despite being full of themselves. And this chaotic pattern, of course, translates into every detail of our lives. We eat so much of the things we like, but still feel hungry. We experiment so much with relationships and partners, but still feel lonely. We buy so many clothes, but still feel like we have nothing to wear. We do whatever pleases us, whenever we want, with whomever we want, but that's still not enough. Nothing truly satisfies or gives meaning. And all of this is a result of living a life with no rules, or with these new man made rules that glorify self indulgence and pleasure, but reject sacrifice and discipline. So, after losing so much weight, I realized that discipline actually made life easier. Setting rules for myself and putting myself into a box was actually much more liberating and freeing than indulging in fast food and pretty much eating whatever I wanted anytime I wanted to. And quickly I realized that the roles changed, and the things that used to bring me pleasure started to feel heavy, like a burden that was keeping me from achieving my true potential and being who I really was, and living in harmony with myself and the world around me. And it was the same thing when I found out about body types and color analysis. I realized that the reason why I bought so many clothes but often felt like I had nothing to wear was because I was just buying whatever I wanted to without taking in consideration my body lines and features. So again, putting myself inside of a box and following rules turned out to be more liberating than just following the anarchist system of just wear whatever you want. And this lie that was sold to us by the media and the enemy of our souls, that to be happy, we need to indulge in every desire that we have and seek pleasure at any cost, is not to make our lives better, but it is to enslave us to our own desires, which, if we think about it, are not even our own, but are carefully manufactured by the media in order to turn us into the perfect consumers. On my last video, I talked about why beauty matters. And I believe that the best way to achieve true beauty and harmony is through effort and sacrifice. And almost everything that is worth it and brings true fulfillment in this life requires discipline. Now, to sum this up, I must say that this truth is ancient and it was written in the Bible more than 2,000 years ago. The gospel is about good news and about the freedom and salvation that God gives to us through his son Jesus. But to experience that freedom, it takes effort and discipline. It takes renounce of desires. Because the truth is that if you can't control your desires and appetites, you become controlled by them. And it's only when you exercise discipline and act in spite of your emotions that you become truly free. To quote the Greek philosopher Aristotle, through discipline comes freedom. So, next time you're resisting doing something that takes you out of your comfort zone and requires you to be disciplined, don't think twice. Just do it. The freedom and fulfillment you want might come right after that. All right, that's it for today. I hope that this video blessed you and inspired you. And I'll see you in the next one.